Welcome to the Tuesday edition of One's World, and as you can see from the photo here, we're going to do a little cooking today. I'm going to talk about what I'm calling fresh pasta sauces. Now, fresh pasta sauce does not mean it's not cooked, but it's not cooked very much. This was a fresh tomato sauce that I had with ravioli in the provinces in Argentina at one point, and it always struck me as being a really good idea that you can, simmer your tomatoes and what have you down a long time, as I've shown you with the ragu alla bolognese and so forth. But you could just do something really quick and really fresh. And it's not common in Italy, but it's very common in Argentina. So I'm going to show you, I think, 4, possibly 5 recipes that I worked on over the weekend. And I'm going to alternate my cooking on Tuesdays with travel on Fridays. We'll see how far that takes us. I've got plenty of travel photos, but I want to alternate with the cooking just for interest's sake. So let's get started on that. All right, well, my beginning point is going to be with onions. Not complicated. Just dice up some onions and soften them a tiny bit over low heat. And meanwhile, chop up some tomatoes, firm tomatoes. I can't get the plum tomatoes here in Cambodia, but I can get something similar, and I let them ripen and then chop them up, and I'll add them to the onions as they're sauteing. Could put some garlic in or not, it all depends. Actually, in Italian cooking, you'd be surprised how little garlic is used. Not entirely absent, but it's not totally common, although there is one of the most important fresh sauces, which is aglio, tongue twister, oil and garlic, which is just nothing but olive oil and chopped up garlic. But usually with a fresh sauce, you don't need it. But in this one I did, so I just gently sauteed the tomato and the onion in a lot of olive oil, added a little bit of fresh parsley, and then cooked some shells and mixed the fresh sauce with the shells. And in this case I actually added some shredded mozzarella to make a dish that could be made in a frying pan or could be made in the oven. And it just also reminds me, as we get going here, I haven't mentioned this to you before, but different shapes of pasta do best with different kinds of sauce. And so one of the things I'm doing here is I'm trying out different shapes of pasta to see how well they do with the different kinds of sauce. And shells I find are particularly good with very well cooked sauces, because the shell holds a lot of the sauce, but it does well with the fresh sauces as well too. So that was step number 1. So onion, tomato, garlic. Next we have leeks. Chopped up some leeks and softened them, and chopped up my tomatoes. This is going to be a recurring theme. The tomatoes are going to be in there every single time. But I just wanted to point out in this particular image, you just take off the tops and then you can easily chop them up and then add them to the leeks. And in this case, that was all I did. It was just tomatoes and leeks. And then I had some pasta that had shrimp in it, as it happens, and so I just gently heated up the stuffed pasta and then placed the tomato and leek over the top. And then my final effort was a little bit more fusion-ish. Here we have royal basil from Southeast Asia. It's fairly easy to get in big supermarkets or Asian sources in the United States, but of course here it's the most common basil. And I made a sauce with scallions, tomatoes, first of all. That is the same idea as before. You know, gently saute your scallions, maybe add some onions if you wish, maybe add some leeks if you wish, add some tomatoes, and then when everything is heated through, add some basil leaves. Now what I did here was I added the basil leaves as I was cooking. Then I cooked some linguine and mixed them all together. And then as a final flourish, I added a little bit of chopped up basil at the very end. I had most of this left over, as it happens, after I had finished the linguine. So I added some garlic, heated everything through, cooked some farfalle, which English people will probably call bow ties because they look like bow ties, and just tried that out. So I've had some kind of stuffed pasta, linguine, shells and farfalle, all with a similar kind of sauce, just to see which one works out best. I don't know that I have a favorite, but I like them all, and I like the real bright freshness of the tomato and scallions or leeks or onions or whatever. That it just brings out a really piquant, like immediate flavor, I guess. I don't know how else to put it. A real contrast with the slow cooked ragouts and other sauces of that nature. So give it a try. Different pasta, different combinations of ingredients. I mean, you could include zucchini, for example, or peppers. You could add a little bit of hot sauce. All kinds of things that you can add to the basics. So enjoy your experiments with cooking with fresh ingredients, and I'll see you on Friday for a trip somewhere in the world.